"There's still one room left," the woman at the front desk told us. Then she looked at Liam and added, "But it only has one bed." My hand tightened around the handle of my suitcase. Beside me, Liam went completely still. For half a second, neither of us said anything. The hotel lobby was crowded with wedding guests, rolling luggage, laughing too loudly, already dressed for the rehearsal dinner. Somewhere behind us, a kid dropped a bag of chips. I heard every single piece hit the floor. One bed. I repeated, because apparently humiliation had made me stupid. The woman gave me an apologetic smile. "King size. Your original room was double booked." Liam leaned one elbow on the counter and glanced at me. "We can survive one night, right?" The problem was, it wasn't one night. It was the entire wedding weekend. 3 days. 2 nights. One hotel room with the guy I'd spent almost a year trying not to fall for. "We could find another hotel," I offered. "Too fast." Liam noticed. Of course he did. His eyebrows lifted slightly, but he pulled out his phone instead of calling me on it. "Closest place with availability is 58 miles away." He turned the screen toward me. "And rehearsal dinner starts in an hour and 40 minutes. I stared at the map like it might suddenly become more helpful. It didn't. "Noah." Liam's voice softened. "It's a bed. We're adults." "Right. Adults. Friends. 2 completely normal men sharing a completely normal bed. Nothing dangerous about that. Unless you're worried I steal blankets," he added. I forced out a laugh. "I'm worried you snore. That rumor has never been proven. Your college roommate posted evidence. That video was edited." The woman behind the desk tried not to smile. Liam bumped his shoulder lightly against mine, and my stomach did something deeply unhelpful. That was the problem with him. He made everything easy. Long drives, bad coffee, awkward silences. Even disaster at a hotel desk somehow felt manageable when he looked at me like that. Like we were already on the same side. We'd driven up from Chicago that morning for our friend Mason's wedding in a small town outside Madison. Liam handled the highway. I controlled the music. We argued over whether early 2000s pop counted as road trip music, stopped twice for coffee, and spent 20 minutes looking for a gas station because Liam refused to admit he'd missed the exit. It had been easy. Almost too easy. At one point, he handed me my drink without asking what I wanted. Oat milk. 1 extra shot. No syrup. He remembered. I told myself it meant nothing. Liam remembered things about everyone. Probably. "Fine." I finally muttered. "We'll take it." His smile came slow. "Knew you'd come around." The elevator ride felt longer than it should have. We stood side by side, suitcases between us, watching the numbers climb. On the 4th floor, Liam glanced over. His eyes stayed on me for 1 beat too long. "You're really okay with this?" I swallowed. Why wouldn't I be? The doors opened before he answered. Our room was at the end of the hall. Liam unlocked it, pushed the door open, and walked inside first. I followed. 1 window, 1 bathroom, 1 chair, and right in the middle of the room, 1 enormous bed. Liam dropped his bag on the floor and looked back at me. "Window side or door side?" he asked, like this was normal. Like my heart wasn't pounding. Like sharing a bed with him wasn't the worst idea I'd ever secretly wanted. "Door," I managed. "Good." He reached for the buttons of his shirt. "Then window side's mine." Briefly, I forgot how to look anywhere normal. Liam had already undone the top button when he caught me staring. Not at his chest. At least, that was what I told myself. His eyes met mine through the mirror over the dresser, and one corner of his mouth lifted. "You okay over there?" "Fine." My answer came out too quickly. I turned toward my suitcase and started opening zippers like I had forgotten how luggage worked. Behind me, fabric shifted. A hanger clicked against the closet door. "You look nervous." "I'm not nervous. That's what I'm doing." Quietly would be great. Liam laughed under his breath. "You're the one acting like we got assigned a honeymoon suite." A knot formed in my stomach. He held my gaze for a second, then another. The joke should have ended there. Instead, his expression changed slightly, like he had heard how real it sounded too. "Relax, Noah." His voice softened. "I'm not going to make this weird." That should have helped. It didn't. I pulled out my dress shirt and headed for the bathroom, but Liam stepped sideways at the same time. We nearly collided. His hand landed on my waist to steady me. It was quick, completely normal, except he didn't move it right away. His fingers stayed there, warm through my t-shirt, while both of us froze in the narrow space between the bed and the dresser. "Careful," he murmured. My breath hitched. I looked up, and he was closer than I expected. Close enough that I could see the faint crease between his eyebrows. Close enough that the room suddenly felt much smaller. I'm standing still, I managed. That might be the problem. His eyes flicked down for half a second. Then he stepped back. The space returned all at once, and I hated how much I noticed its absence. "Bathroom's yours," he said, clearing his throat. "I'll change out here." I shut the door behind me and stared at my reflection. My face was warm. My pulse wouldn't calm down. It meant nothing. Liam caught me before I walked into him. Anyone would have done that. Anyone might have kept their hand there too long. Anyone might have looked at my mouth before stepping away. I changed as fast as I could. When I came back out, Liam was fixing his cuff near the window. He looked over and stopped. Just stopped. His gaze moved from my shoes to my face, slow enough that I felt every second of it. "What?" I glanced down at myself. "Is something wrong?" "No," he walked toward me. "Your collar." Before I could answer, he reached up and folded it into place. His knuckles brushed the side of my neck. My breath caught, embarrassingly loud in the quiet room. Liam noticed. His hand paused. "There." But he didn't step away. "You look good, Noah." I forced a smile. "It's a wedding. That's usually the goal." No, his eyes stayed on mine. "I mean, you look really good." A knock hit the door before I could respond. Someone in the hallway shouted that the shuttle was leaving in 5 minutes. Liam lowered his hand slowly. "Saved by the wedding party," he murmured. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. But when he opened the door, his palm settled against the middle of my back, guiding me into the hall. It was probably nothing. The problem was, he left it there all the way to the elevator. By the time we reached the rehearsal dinner, I had almost convinced myself Liam's hand on my back had been nothing. Then he did it again. The restaurant had rented out the entire second floor, which meant crowded tables, too many voices, and at least 20 people I hadn't seen since college. The second we stepped inside, Mason spotted us from across the room. "There they are," he called, raising both hands. The happy couple finally made it. Everyone nearby laughed. I expected Liam to move away. Instead, his palm settled against my lower back, warm and steady, guiding me through the crowd. "Traffic," he offered, "and a hotel disaster." Mason's eyes lit up. "What kind of disaster?" "They gave us one room." I cut in. "That's all." "One room?" His fiancée, Claire, leaned around him. "How many beds?" I should have lied. Liam answered first. "One." The table erupted. Someone whistled. One of the groomsmen slapped the table like this was the best news he had heard all week. Heat climbed up my neck. "It's a king-size bed," I said. "There's plenty of space." "Sure," Mason replied. "That's what every romantic comedy says before everything goes wrong." Liam laughed beside me, but his hand didn't leave my back. That was the part one couldn't explain anymore. The joke had ended. We had reached the table. There was no crowd to guide me through. Still, his fingers stayed there, resting lightly through the fabric of my shirt. "So," Claire continued, smiling between us, "how long have you two been secretly dating?" "We aren't dating," I answered. Again, too quickly. Liam looked at me. Not amused. Not embarrassed. Just quiet. The silence lasted long enough for the people around us to notice. My throat went dry. Then his thumb moved once against my back. A small, absent motion that nearly made me forget where I was. "Not officially," he said. The table exploded again. Mason nearly choked on his drink. I laughed because everyone else did, but Liam was still watching me. His expression had softened in a way that made the room feel strangely distant. "Good one," I managed. "Was it?" His voice was low enough that only I heard it. Before I could answer, Claire pulled us toward our seats. Liam took the chair beside mine. Of course he did. Dinner started, and I tried to focus on anything else. Speeches. Food. Mason telling the same college story for the 100th time. But Liam kept doing little things that made it impossible. He moved my water away from the edge before I knocked it over. He noticed I hadn't touched the mushrooms and traded plates with me without asking. When the air conditioning kicked on and I rubbed my arms, he quietly draped his suit jacket over the back of my chair. "You're cold," he murmured. "I'm fine. You always say that when you're not." I looked at him. "You remember that?" Liam's eyes held mine. "I remember a lot of things about you." A wave of nerves hit me. There was no joke in his face this time. No easy smile. Just that look, steady and almost careful. Then someone across the table called his name, and the moment broke. Liam turned away, but his knee stayed pressed against mine under the table. I waited for him to move it. He never did. Back at the hotel, Liam closed the door behind us and leaned against it for a second. That was subtle. I dropped his jacket over the chair. You mean everyone asking if we were dating? I make you nearly choking when I said not officially. My face warmed. You did that on purpose. He pushed away from the door, loosening his cuffs as he crossed the room. Maybe. Why? Liam looked at me, but instead of answering, he reached for the remote and turned on the television. Some late-night game show filled the silence. You want the bathroom first? Just like that, he had changed the subject. I should have let him. Instead, I stood beside the bed, still watching him. You didn't answer me. His thumb stopped over the volume button. It was a joke, Noah. Right. The word came out flatter than I meant it to. I grabbed my sweats and disappeared into the bathroom before he could see how much that answer bothered me. When I came back, Liam had built a line of pillows down the middle of the bed. There, he announced. International border. I stared at it. Very mature. You get your side. I get mine. No diplomatic incidents. I climbed in near the door while he switched off the lamp. The mattress dipped when he settled beside me. Even with the pillows between us, I could feel the warmth of him there. Rain tapped softly against the window. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then Liam's voice came through the dark. Do you ever think about it? My heart stumbled. About what? Getting married. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Sometimes. To anyone specific? My fingers tightened around the edge of the blanket. That's a dangerous question. Why? I turned onto my back, staring at the ceiling I could barely see. Because the answer is complicated. Liam shifted on the other side of the pillows. Complicated how? The person isn't exactly available. Another pause. Longer this time. Are they with someone? No. Then what makes them unavailable? I swallowed. They probably don't see me that way. The room went quiet except for the ring. I waited for Liam to make a joke. He didn't. One of the pillows between us slipped toward the floor. His hand reached out at the same time as mine. Our fingers met in the dark. Neither of us pulled away. His thumb rested against the side of my hand, barely moving. Maybe you're wrong, he murmured. My heart squeezed so hard it almost hurt. I turned toward him. He had already turned toward me. The pillow between our faces was gone now. His eyes moved over mine, searching, then dropped for one brief second. My breath caught. Liam leaned closer. Not much. Just enough that the space between us changed. Noah, he whispered. A loud knock hit the wall from the room next door, followed by someone shouting for their friends to keep it down. We both froze. Then Liam pulled back slowly, his hand leaving mine. We should sleep, he said. I stared at the empty space where his fingers had been. Yeah. But long after his breathing went quiet, I stayed awake, wondering what would have happened if nobody had interrupted us. I woke up with Liam's knee pressed against mine and the pillow border somewhere on the floor. We both lay perfectly still. His face was close, eyes still heavy with sleep, and his hand rested near mine on the mattress. He looked down at the space between us, then back at me. Morning. His voice was rough and soft at the same time. My heart started pounding before I was fully awake. Morning. I waited for him to pull away. He didn't. His fingers shifted slightly, almost brushing mine. Then his phone started ringing on the nightstand. Liam rolled onto his back and reached for it, breaking the moment so quickly I wondered if I had imagined it. Mason, he muttered, checking the screen. Apparently breakfast is mandatory. 20 minutes later, we were downstairs with half the wedding party, pretending we hadn't nearly crossed a line in the dark. Claire noticed us first. Her eyes moved from Liam to me, then to the single room, key in his hand. You two look tired. He steals blankets, Liam replied. I turned toward him. That's a lie. You crossed an international border. Your pillow wall collapsed. Mason looked between us with a grin. So the honeymoon suite survived? Everyone laughed. I reached for coffee and tried not to react, but Liam went strangely quiet beside me. Claire caught it. Her smile faded just a little, like she had noticed something the others hadn't. We're taking pictures before the ceremony, she told us. Try not to make things weird before then. Too late, one of the groomsmen called. At the table, Liam sat across from me instead of beside me. It shouldn't have bothered me. It did. He answered questions, laughed at Mason's stories, and barely looked in my direction. Maybe last night had embarrassed him. Maybe the almost moment had only felt real to me. I hated how quickly that thought settled in my chest. Then Ethan arrived. Claire's cousin. I remembered him vaguely from college. Friendly, confident, The kind of guy who made conversation feel easy. He took the empty chair beside me and smiled. Noah, right? Yeah. Claire told me you work in design. We started talking about Chicago, bad clients, and the fact that neither of us knew how to dance. It was harmless. I wasn't flirting. At least, I didn't think I was. Across the table, Liam finally looked at me. His expression was calm, but his jaw tightened when Ethan leaned closer to show me something on his phone. A minute later, Liam stood and placed a fresh cup of coffee beside my hand. Oat milk. 1 extra shot. No syrup. You were almost out. His eyes went to Ethan, then back to me. Thanks. Sure. He stayed there a second too long. Ethan glanced between us. You guys together? No, Liam answered immediately. The word landed harder than it should have. Ethan nodded, apparently satisfied. Good to know. Liam's expression changed. Barely, but I saw it. He returned to his chair without another word. Claire watched him go, then leaned toward me. He doesn't look like a guy who thinks you're just friends. A knot formed in my gut. You're reading into it. Maybe. She lifted her coffee. But he's been staring at Ethan like Ethan keyed his car. I looked across the table. Liam was already watching me. This time, when our eyes met, he didn't look away. The ceremony should have distracted me. It didn't. I sat beside Liam in the second row, close enough that our shoulders touched every time someone shifted past us. He kept his hands folded in his lap, eyes fixed on Mason and Claire beneath the white flower arch. At least, that was what I thought. Halfway through the vows, I glanced over. Liam was already looking at me. He turned forward so quickly it almost made me laugh. Almost. At the reception, Ethan found me near the bar. You owe me a dance later, he said, handing me a glass of water. I don't remember agreeing to that. You admitted you can't dance. That sounds like a challenge. Before I could answer, Liam appeared beside us. Claire needs Noah for pictures. Ethan looked toward the dance floor, where Claire was very clearly taking pictures with someone else. Right now? Liam didn't blink. Right now? I followed him because making a scene felt worse. He led me through a side door into a quiet hallway near the coat check, then stopped. Claire doesn't need me. I know. His jaw tightened. Then what was that? Nothing. You dragged me away from a conversation for nothing? Liam looked past me, then down at the floor. For once, he didn't have an easy answer. I didn't like it. My pulse jumped. Didn't like what? The way he was looking at you. The words came out low and rough. Liam dragged a hand over the back of his neck. Or the way you were smiling at him. I stared at him. You told him we weren't together. We aren't. Then you don't get to be angry. I know. That stopped me. He stepped closer, not enough to touch, but enough that I had to tilt my head to hold his gaze. That's the problem, Noah. I know I don't get to care. And I still do. The hallway seemed to go completely silent. A heavy weight pressed against my ribs. Last night, I started, then had to swallow. Was that real to you? Liam's eyes dropped to my hand, hanging between us. His fingers brushed mine once. Not an accident. Yes. I forgot how to breathe. He looked up again, expression open in a way I had never seen before. I wasn't joking at dinner. About what? Not officially. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Liam let out a quiet breath and moved his hand closer until our fingers rested together. He didn't fully hold mine. Not yet. I almost kissed you last night, he admitted. Then why did you pull away? Because I couldn't tell if you wanted me to. I looked down at our hands. I did. His fingers curled around mine. Gentle. Careful. Real. Time seemed to freeze. Then voices came from the ballroom, getting closer. Liam released me before anyone turned the corner. The loss of contact felt immediate. We should go back, he murmured. I nodded, but when we reached the door, he caught my wrist lightly. Noah. I turned. His eyes stayed on mine. I don't want to pretend last night didn't happen. For the next hour, Liam barely looked at me. At first, I told myself he was just being careful. We were surrounded by friends. Mason's parents were at the next table. Claire kept pulling people into pictures. Nobody needed to notice whatever had changed between us in that hallway. But careful started feeling a lot like regret. Liam laughed with the groomsmen, helped move chairs, and somehow always found a reason to stand on the other side of the room. When I caught his eye, he looked away first. Every time. By the time the band started another slow song, my stomach had tied itself into a knot. Ethan appeared beside me and offered his hand. Still owe me that dance. I glanced across the room. Liam was talking to Mason, but his attention shifted toward us immediately. I waited for him to do something. Anything. He didn't. Sure, I told Ethan. The dance was harmless. Ethan kept a respectful distance and made jokes about stepping on my shoes. I laughed at the right moments, but my focus stayed somewhere over his shoulder. Liam stood near the bar with his hands in his pockets, watching. When the song ended, Ethan thanked me and walked away. Liam turned toward the exit. I followed him into the hotel courtyard before I could talk myself out of it. Are you avoiding me? He stopped near the railing but didn't turn around. No, you're doing a terrible job of proving that. His shoulders rose with a slow breath. I'm trying not to make this harder. For who? That made him face me. The tension in his expression wasn't regret. It was fear. For us. I folded my arms, mostly to keep my hands still. You told me you didn't want to pretend nothing happened. Then you spent an hour pretending I wasn't there. Because I don't know what happens after this weekend. His voice stayed low. We go home. Exactly. Liam looked toward the ballroom doors, checking that nobody had followed us. We go back to Chicago. Back to coffee runs, road trips, Friday nights at Mason's place. Back to everything being easy. And you think this ruins that? I think losing you would. The anger went out of me so quickly it left me unsteady. Liam rubbed a hand over his face. What if we try this and it gets weird? What if you realize you only wanted it because we were stuck in one room and everyone kept treating us like a couple? That's not what this is. How do you know? Because I wanted you before the hotel. The words came out before I could stop them. Liam went completely still. I forced back the lump in my throat and continued. Before the wedding. Before Ethan. Before last night. I've been trying to get over you for almost a year. His eyes closed briefly. When they opened again, something in them had changed. Noah, don't say my name like you feel sorry for me. I don't. He stepped closer, then stopped himself. I'm scared because I feel the same way. A burst of laughter came from inside. The courtyard door opened, and Mason leaned out. There you are. Group photo. Both of you. Liam immediately stepped back. Too far. Mason disappeared again without noticing. I stared at the space Liam had created between us. Right, I murmured. Back to normal. I walked toward the door, but Liam caught my hand before I reached it. His grip was hidden between us, out of sight from the ballroom. No, he whispered. I just need 1 minute to figure out how to stop being afraid of what happens when everyone sees us. The group photo took less than a minute. It felt like an hour. Liam stood beside me with his shoulder touching mine, smiling for the camera like nothing had happened in the courtyard. The second the flash went off, he stepped away again. That was it. I was done pretending. Back in the hotel room, Liam closed the door and reached for the buttons of his jacket. Noah, no, my voice came out sharper than I expected. He stopped. I set the room key on the dresser and turned toward him. You don't get to hold my hand where nobody can see, then act like I'm a problem the second a door opens. His expression tightened. That's not what I'm doing. It feels like it. Silence. Liam looked down at the carpet. His hands stayed at his sides. I told you I was scared. So am I. He looked up. You think this is easy for me? I took a breath, but my lungs still felt too tight. I've spent a year telling myself every look meant nothing. Every time you remembered something about me. Every time you sat too close. Every time you called just because you were bored. I made all of it smaller because I couldn't afford to believe it was real. Liam didn't move. It was real. Then stop hiding from it. The words hung between us. He rubbed his thumb against his palm, a nervous habit I had never noticed before. I've never done this, he admitted. What? Wanted someone enough to risk the rest of my life changing. My anger softened, but I didn't let him avoid my eyes. I'm not asking you to explain your entire life tonight. I know. I'm asking whether you want this. Liam stepped closer. One step, then another. Yes. My pulse jumped. Say it like you mean it. His jaw flexed. For a second, I thought he might back away again. Instead, he reached for my hand. Not hidden between us. Not under a table. He laced his fingers through mine and held on. I want you, he said quietly. I wanted you before the room. Before the wedding. Before Ethan. I swallowed. Then why did you keep acting like you regretted it? Because I thought you might. His thumb moved across my knuckles. You looked at me this morning like you were waiting for me to decide what last night meant. And I panicked. I was waiting. I know that now. The room went still. Liam glanced toward the bed, then back at me. I don't want to go home and pretend this weekend was some weird accident. Good. I stepped closer until there was barely any space left. Because I'm not going back to normal. His breath caught. His eyes dropped to my mouth, then lifted again. What happens instead? We figure it out. Together? I squeezed his hand. That's usually how this works. A small laugh escaped him, nervous and relieved. Then his free hand lifted toward my face and stopped halfway, giving me time, giving me a choice. I leaned into his palm. Liam's expression changed completely. Softer. Certain. He moved closer until his forehead rested against mine. Neither of us rushed. Neither of us looked away. No more pretending, he whispered. No more pretending. We stayed exactly like that for a long moment. Foreheads touching. Hands linked. The whole room quiet around us. Then Liam smiled. Not the easy smile he used when he was joking. This one looked almost surprised. I should have done that months ago. I let out a breath that turned into a laugh. You almost did it last night. I panicked. You've mentioned that. I'm working on it. His thumb brushed across my knuckles again. This time, he didn't let go. We sat on the edge of the bed and talked until the noise from the reception faded down the hallway. Nothing dramatic. No promises about forever. Just the truth, piece by piece. Liam admitted he had started noticing me differently after a road trip the previous summer, when I fell asleep in the passenger seat and trusted him enough not to wake me. I told him I had been in trouble long before that. Probably the first time he showed up at my apartment with soup because I sounded sick on the phone. You said you were already nearby, I reminded him. Liam looked guilty. I drove 25 minutes. I stared at him. You liar. You ate the soup. That's not the point. He laughed, and something inside me finally loosened. The next morning, I woke up near the window side of the bed. Liam was beside me, still asleep, one hand resting close to mine. The pillow border never came back. I watched him for one quiet second before his eyes opened. Still here, he murmured. Unfortunately. Good. His fingers found mine beneath the blanket and squeezed once. Downstairs, the wedding party had taken over half the lobby. Mason spotted us near the elevator and looked between us. So, he began, already grinning. Did the room survive? Liam glanced at me. I expected a joke. An excuse. Maybe another careful step backward. Instead, he reached for my hand. Right there in the middle of the lobby. No table hiding us. No dark hallway. No locked hotel room door. His fingers slid through mine, steady and warm. Mason's grin disappeared for half a second, then came back twice as wide. Claire just nodded like she had known all along. Someone behind them whistled. My first instinct was to pull away. Years of protecting myself didn't disappear overnight. Liam must have felt the tension in my hand because he looked at me. He didn't grip harder. He didn't ask me to prove anything. He simply waited. So I stayed. Breakfast? He asked. Like this was ordinary. Like choosing me could be that simple. Coffee first. Oat milk. Extra shot. No syrup. I shook my head. You're never going to let me order for myself again, are you? Probably not. We sat together at the end of the long table, our knees touching underneath it. The conversation moved on. People complained about headaches, missing shoes, and the long drive home. Nobody treated the world like it had changed. But mine had. On the drive back to Chicago, Liam took the wheel again. I controlled the music. We argued about the same songs and stopped at the same terrible gas station. Everything felt familiar. Except when he rested his hand on the center console, palm open, I placed mine in it. He smiled without looking away from the road. Friday night. What about it? Dinner. A real date. I tried to sound calm. Are you asking me officially? His fingers closed around mine. Yeah, Noah. Officially. And for once, I didn't need to tell myself it meant nothing.